Hey everyone, Data here, and welcome back to another NHL 22 career simulation. Today going through the career of the 9th overall pick in the 2022 NHL Entry Draft by the Buffalo Sabres, Matthew Savoie. Matthew Savoie, another very highly suggested career simulation in the comments of the last few career simulations. We've done Slavkovsky, Wright, Nemec, and Cooley, and now we're taking on Matthew Savoie, going through a lot of the big names of the 2022 NHL Draft. So once again, goes to show that the suggestions are the ones that are made. So if there's a player you really want to see, try and suggest it, get some likes on it, try to rally some people down in the comments to get on board with you. We'll be saving simulations of players who have already played in the league before for NHL 23, but if there's any other prospects you want to see, make sure to comment down below. Now, Matthew Savoie, an incredibly talented player. He just came off of a 90-point season in 65 games with the Winnipeg Ice of the WHL. He is a smaller guy, 5'9", very gifted offensively, great passing ability as well. He was once thought of a top 1-2 guy in this draft class. I remember many people saying that it was between Shane Wright and Matthew Savoie. Now, a couple years later, we see that he goes 9th to the Sabres, but I really thought he was going to go in the 5-6 range, so I think the Sabres picked up a great prospect right here. And although he's not as NHL ready as some of the other guys, I'll be very curious to see how he slots into the lineup come 2024, 25, or whenever he's really ready to make an impact. So Matthew Savoie is a 73 overall with medium elite potential here in NHL 22. His greatest attributes are his passing, his shooting, great offensive awareness already at 84, but that one-star physical probably won't grow very much. That's something that I really want to keep an eye on throughout his career. Already 84 stick checking, not great on the shot blocking. His faceoffs will come along as well as he develops in his career as a centerman. But what's very interesting about this career simulation is that as a Canadian Hockey League player, even though he'll be drafted in 2022, he will likely spend 2023 and maybe even 2024 in the WHL, continuing his career with the Winnipeg Ice. So he won't unrealistically be in the AHL for too long, for example, like with the Simon Nemec simulation. He'll actually be in the WHL until it's time for him to make the NHL. And when he does, we'll be curious to see how the Sabres look, because obviously we can't control everything going on in the league. That just goes into the simulation. This is a simulation of Matthew Savoie following the 20-whatever years of his career. Obviously, many things in the league will not be realistic. Trades, signings, other things happening that is totally out of our control. So I try not to focus on that too much. I just want to see how Savoie does. Does he become a pillar in Buffalo with the likes of Rasmus Dahlin, Owen Power, Peyton Krebs, Jack Quinn, players like that? Does he move on to bigger and potentially better things in his career? As always, we will follow all of that action from a totally different team with the entire league set to auto. Everything is automated from the trades to the scouting to the staff management. Injuries are turned on. We are just viewers. We are watchers here in this universe. So without further ado, let's get to the 2022 NHL Entry Draft. It's not always easy to get the exact team to draft the exact player and to go through all the simulation and the years and all that stuff. I love making these videos, but as I always say, they do by far take the longest to make. So if you enjoy it, leave a like, drop a comment with what you enjoyed about the simulation, and of course do consider subscribing, as you'll be made aware of all of our uploads here on the channel, NHL 22 career simulations, franchise mode, and much, much more. But all that being said, let's move ahead to the 2022 draft. So with the 8th overall selection in the draft, not the 9th actually in this alternate reality, the Buffalo Sabres go ahead and select Matthew Savoie, medium elite, 73 overall. Now the age of 18, all attributes still the same. What we can see as well are his zone abilities and X factors. So he has puck on a string, exceptional toe drag and stick handling speed, tape-to-tape passing, all-alone breakaways, quick draw face-off ability, and shock and awe shooting out of the toe drag. Great for his future simulation. He also gained, I think, 9 pounds at 188 now. Maybe his attributes might have changed slightly, a few of them, but I don't think anything has. So with Savoie now in the Buffalo Sabres organization, we'll be following the next couple of years loosely, as he'll be in the WHL. In previous career simulations, I called year one in the AHL, year two in the AHL, and year 3, year 1 in the NHL, for example. We won't be doing that here because we can't quite follow the Canadian Hockey Leagues. I can't see how the Winnipeg Ice do if they win the Memorial Cup or whatever else. So we're just going to take quick looks every season, see how his stats are looking in the junior leagues. But year number 1 will be whenever he actually does crack the NHL lineup, and that is yet to be seen. So with that understood, we can go right now and fly ahead to the end of 2022-23 and see what his stats were in another season with the Winnipeg Ice in the WHL. In 2022-23, Matthew Savoie put up 102 points in 64 games with the Winnipeg Ice in the WHL. He did see some preseason time with the Sabres as he scored 2 points in 2 games, but obviously that was not enough to make the lineup. After 22-23, he is a 76 overall, and we'll see if he has growth in the 2023 offseason. In 2023-24, Matthew Savoie plays his final season with Winnipeg Ice, and in 64 games scores 33 goals and 59 assists for 92 points. He grows to an 80 overall and is now listed as a depth forward, so he should be looking to crack the NHL lineup in 2024-25. 90 offensive awareness, 4-star puck skills, still a 2-star physical, but everything else coming along very nicely. 88 stick checking, 86 acceleration, and speed. Between his real-life stats and now the in-game stats, the last 2 years, Matthew Savoie ends his junior career with 291 points in just 215 games. So headed into the 2024 offseason, I'm excited to see what Buffalo will do to prepare themselves for Savoie for his rookie season, year number 1. In year number 1, 2024-25, Matthew Savoie is centering the second line in Buffalo. Here's how the team looks, a little bit of an update to start things off. The first line is Benson, Cousins, and Tuck. The second line is Thompson, Savoie, and Max Domi. Third line, Oscar Lindblom, Philippe Danault, and Zach Senyshyn. Fourth line, Riley Smith, Casey Middlestat, and the eternal Jeff Skinner. Defense, Darlene Power, Sward, and Yoki Harju. Fourth pair, Kalen Addison and Eric Johnson. Goaltending, it's Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, backed up by 37-year-old Cam Talbot. Peyton Krebs, Jack Quinn, and Victor Olofsson, all healthy scratches to start the year. I'm sure they'll find time in the lineup, but odd to see that. There are your 2024-25 Buffalo Sabres. Matthew Savoie, at the age of 20, is now at an 82 overall with a third scoring line forward role. Medium elite potential as always. 91 offensive awareness, 4-star puck skills, all between 88 and 89. Shooting's pretty solid, skating's great. His defense will continue to come along despite the 89 stick checking kind of carrying everything else. Good defensive awareness. Very excited to see what Savoie can do in his rookie season with lots of ice time here in Buffalo. In year number 1, the Buffalo Sabres finished 25th in the NHL with a record just above 500, going 36, 35, and 11. Savoie's rookie season wasn't really much to write home about as he played in 78 out of 82 games and scored 8 goals and 25 assists, a 33-point rookie season, which isn't anything horrible, but unfortunately not the greatest line mates with him to do much else, unfortunately. He ends the season as a -4 as well, only had 8 penalty minutes, threw in 7 power play points, and was averaging just over 16 minutes per night, so hats off for the guy trying to do what he could on a subpar team. With that rookie season under his belt, he grows to an 83 overall, still listed as a third-line scoring forward, but he should see more growth over the 2025 offseason. 4.5-star puck skills, 4.5-star senses. The attributes are coming along nicely, and I'm very certain that he will put in the work in this offseason to be even better come 2025-26. At the draft, the Sabres won one of the lotteries, which put them from 8th to 2nd, and with the 2nd overall selection, they went ahead and took an 80 overall medium elite centerman, Mike Knubel's son, Maddox Knubel. Looks to be a great playmaker right there, so hopefully he will complement Savoie and the rest of the prospects in Buffalo moving forward. Year number 2, Matthew Savoie's sophomore season in the NHL, and he was once again centering the second line, this time with Victor Olofsson on his left and Alex Tuck on his right, as the first line is Benson, Cousins, and that new prospect Knubel. The third line is Dubois, Thompson, and Zach Senyshyn, so Pierre-Luc Dubois, bienvenue au Buffalo. Skinner, Domi, and Quinn, the fourth line. It's a solid forward core overall-wise. Defensively, Power, Darlene, Sward, Yoki Harju, Addison, Andrew Peak. Goalies, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, and Chris Drieger. The scratches are still pretty solid with Danault, Krebs, and Middlestat, all serviceable players, so Buffalo has themselves a lineup here. They shouldn't be in the basement of the league. Savoie is now an 85 overall, who's listed as a second-line forward. 5-star puck skills, 5-star senses, 4-star defense and skating, 3.5 shooting, 2.5 physical. So coming off of a 33-point rookie season that saw Buffalo finish in 25th, let's hope for much better things in 2025-26. Well, there's nothing new for you. In year number 2, the Buffalo Sabres do even worse than year number 1 as they finish 3rd last in the NHL, 30th place in the league with a record of 33, 40, and 9. Savoie played a full 82-game season in his sophomore year, this time scoring 14 goals and 30 assists for 44 points, so an 11-point improvement on last season. But I guess, I don't know, is it the line mates? I don't know what. You look at Pierre-Luc Dubois, who scored 8 goals and 28 points himself. This team just is not built for scoring. I don't know what's in the water in Buffalo. Savoie was a negative 16, had 7 power play points, and averaged just 7 more seconds than last year, 16 minutes and 8 seconds a night. He remains at an 85 overall after that tough season. 4-star defense, 5-star puck skills and senses. I'm not sure if the attributes have really changed too much after a year like that. He is headed into the final year of his entry-level contract, so we'll see if Buffalo wants to go bridge or long-term or what after this year. But we really got to see more from Savoie and Buffalo as a whole headed into year number 3. Alright, year number 3, and now I finally have a little bit of a glimmer of hope. Matthew Savoie is up to an 86 overall, and check out this forward core in Buffalo. This guy is Savoie, who was the 9th overall pick in 2024, first-line left wing, with Benson and Knuble, the guy drafted second. The second line is Cousins, Savoie, and Olofsson. Third, Thompson, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Tippett. Fourth, Quinn, Domi, and Skinner. Defense, still Power and Dahlin in the top pair, but drops off a bit after that. And goaltending, still Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. This year's backup is Laurent Brossoit. Krebs, Danault, and Middlestat, still healthy scratches. Like Peyton Krebs last year, he played in 24 games with 12 points. Like, why wouldn't you want to play him a little bit more? I'm sure it's the same from the other guys. But regardless, Buffalo has a forward core that should be scoring more than the third last place team. 86 overall for Savoie with the 5-star puck skills and sense is still there. A guy with attributes like that, he should be putting up a lot more than 30, 40 points. So let's hope that in this third and final year of his entry-level deal, he can show why the Sabres drafted him with the 9th pick back in 2022. Year number 3 shows slight improvement for the Sabres as they have their best finish yet with Savoie in the lineup. Only 22nd this year in the NHL, above 500 with a record of 38, 36, and 8. Funnily enough, Savoie continues the trend of improving by 11 points a season, from 33 to 44 to 55 in his third year now. 13 goals and 42 assists, career high in assists. Played in all 82 games for the second consecutive season and was a negative 10 while registering 14 points along the way, another career high. And now 16 minutes and 14 seconds per night, which was an increase of 6 seconds from last year. So really looks like baby steps along the way, but you got to give him credit on a 55-point season. It's the rest of the team that just, I don't know what's going on with. No one can seem to score here in Buffalo, and it's hurting the team very much. Savoie is an 86 overall at the end of his entry-level contract and headed into the 2027 offseason. He'll need a new contract. He's now listed as a second-line forward, and I'll be curious to see if Buffalo goes the bridge or long-term extension route. All the same stars for each section of attributes right there. Doesn't seem like anything is changing too much, and you can't really blame him when his teammates aren't being of much help either. So we'll see what kind of agreement, if any, he and Buffalo Sabre management can come to in the 2027 offseason. Alright, year number 4, and Matthew Savoie did not hold out in restricted free agency. He is committed to Buffalo, and he signed a very team-friendly deal. 5 years at only $5.615 million per season, paying him a total of just over $28 million. It will bring him to unrestricted free agency, but for the next 5 years, that's a great contract to be on, and it allowed them to use some other money to pick up a 4-year deal on JT Miller, a 3-year deal on Mackenzie Weegar. So Buffalo, okay, things are looking all right here. So I'm liking this lineup very much, but I will hold my breath for any predictions. Savoie, an 86 overall, still with the same attributes, I believe, as the end of last season. 94 offensive awareness, 5-star puck skills. Let's see what he can do with that new contract and some new line mates headed into 2027-28. In year number 4, the Sabres finally make the postseason with a pretty solid record to boot as they finish 12th place in the NHL with a record of 43, 32, and 7. Savoie didn't keep on his pace of scoring 11 more points per season, but it was a career high by 1 point as he scored 56 in 82, 14 goals, and 42 assists. He was a negative 12 along the way, one of the only negatives on the team, actually. Yeah, he was tied for the worst negative plus-minus on the team and the worst of the highest scorers, that's for sure. Throw in 14 power play points and only 16-23 of ice time per night. He's not playing that much here with Buffalo, but, you know, nonetheless a career high in a weird season. But who cares about that, because in the postseason, the Sabres went on a run, taking down the Panthers in 6 in round number 1, the Lightning in 6 in round number 2, but they dropped in 5 games in the Eastern Conference Final to the Philadelphia Flyers, who went on to get swept by the Calgary Flames for the 2028 Cup. This was the furthest that the Sabres had made in the postseason since losing in the conference final back in 2007, and it was just the first time that they made the postseason itself since 2011. So a huge drought broken, to say the least, but once again, scoring was the issue for the Sabres, as Playfair scored like 11 goals, but no one else scored that much. Savoie had 2 goals and 5 assists for 7 points through 17 games in the postseason, and after this year finds himself still at an 86 overall. I've seen him grow very, very well on other teams in franchise mode, but it seems as though there's a curse here in Buffalo and he can't get much going. Nonetheless, he still does have all those great attributes, nothing really changing. He's technically coming off of a career season, so hopefully headed into year number 5 he can keep up that pace, and hopefully a return to the postseason will be the new normal in 2028-29. Year number 5, and Buffalo took a bit of a hit in the offseason, as Matthew Savoie still an 86, that's great. Now has 79 overall, Isaac Roseyan on his right. JT Miller goes off a cliff from 87 to 82 in overall. The rest of the team, there's a 71 over here. I guess that's what happens when you have Peyton Krebs as a healthy scratch for like 2 seasons. Not great for the scratches there. Defense maybe? Power, Dahlin, Uyghur down to an 82 as well. He was an 86 last season. And goaltending, it's Nico Daws backed up by a 66 overall. Yeah. But anyways, Matthew Savoie is going to have to do some sort of miracle. With Benson on his left, that's great. Roseyan on his right. 86 overall, attributes have not changed. It's becoming kind of dim here in Buffalo. I am not excited at all about 2028-29. Nonetheless, it is year number 5, and we'll see if they can pull a rabbit out of the hat. In year number 5, the Buffalo Sabres are unsurprisingly the worst team in the NHL, finishing 32nd with a lovely record of 27 wins, 48 losses, and 7 overtime shootout losses. Oh my goodness. Matthew Savoie played in all 82 games and scored 37 points, his lowest point total since his rookie season, 13 goals and 24 assists as a negative 33, the second worst on the team, only to the 23 points and negative 36 of Pierre-Luc Dubois. It seems like anyone who goes to Buffalo just can't do anything that they used to do. When they touch the puck, I guess it's as if their skill just gets sucked out of them, like the basketball players in Space Jam. Sidor did well, but due to injury missed like 30 games. Anyways, Savoie had 12 power play points in the season and averaged 16 minutes and 18 seconds per night. I don't know if he's not being utilized enough, if it's his line mates, if it's just him, but this man has to get out of Buffalo. He regresses to an 85 overall after that season, still with the same star attributes, I believe. But regardless, it was a very tough year for Savoie and the Sabres. He'll have 3 more years on his contract at 5.615, but if I were Savoie, I'd be wanting to get out of this town ASAP. But who knows, maybe things start turning around with the high draft picks that will come Buffalo's way, and hopefully we'll be seeing that in the 2029 offseason. In the 2029 draft, the Sabres lose the number 1 spot and drop down to selection number 2. They miss out on a medium franchise power forward. Wow! Luck is not with Buffalo, but they do get an 82 overall playmaker, medium league potential at the age of 18. At least there's that. But that hurts, missing out on a franchise power forward with 5-star shooting, everything. Wow. All right. So there's Buffalo's newest prospect in the system. And hopefully the Sabres won't finish at the absolute bottom of the league in 2029-30. Year number 6, and Matthew Savoie is still centering the second line here in Buffalo, but now he has Brophy on his left. Not the ideal thing to have 3 playmakers on your line, but hey, who knows what happens in Buffalo management behind closed doors. Alexander Holtz has joined the team. JT Miller is down to a 76 overall, who's costing the team $8.67 million for 2 more years. Another great piece of management there. Ruzika's here. Dubois a 4th line centerman. Lovely management all around. Goaltending is still Nico Daws. Great. All right, so fingers crossed for Buffalo to not finish absolute last, but Savoie is an 85 overall headed into his 6th season in the NHL. Attributes are looking like this. He has great potential, but on a line with 2 playmakers and a team that just doesn't know how to score seemingly, it might be a difficult season. No postseason in year number 6, but the Sabres did come close as the Flyers only finished with one more point than them, snatching up the last spot in the Eastern Conference. The Sabres miss out with a record of 39, 36, and 7, finishing 23rd in the league. Matthew Savoie set a new career high in assists with 46 and tied his career high of points with 56 as he once again played in all 82 games and scored 10 goals and 46 assists. So his second 56 and third 50-plus point season of his career. He was a negative 21, which is not helping his career plus minus. Added in 19 penalty minutes, the most of his career and the most on the team this season, and was averaging for once more than 16 minutes per night as he was just 8 seconds shy of registering 18 minutes a night. So good to see that his role is slowly increasing. He does also increase back to an 86 overall. So although he hasn't shown anything too crazy just yet, it's good to see that he's going in the right direction. Faceoffs up to 81, puck skills all between 92 and 93, 94 offensive awareness is back. So who knows what's going to happen over the offseason, but please, fingers crossed, let's continue trending upwards as we head into 2030-31. Year number 7, and Matthew Savoie is still centering the second line here on Buffalo, but he is now an 87 overall, the highest overall he has ever been. He is now 26 years of age, so his potential will be locking in this season. Hopefully it stays at medium elite. Puck skills all between 93 and 94, shooting at 3.5, physical at 2.5, obviously his lowest attributes. But the 4.5-star defense now with 89 defensive awareness, 92 stick checking, and of course 82 faceoffs as he continues to grow as a centerman. So 87 overall. He has Brophy, the playmaker, on his left, and Benson, the playmaker, on his right. Once again, not ideal, but at least Benson has been one of the team's leading scorers the last few years, so hopefully that'll help Savoie. The top 6 is pretty solid, but the bottom 6 leaves a bit to be desired. Taylor Hall, welcome back to Buffalo. Defense, still Power and Dahlin, but the other two pairs are meh. And goaltending is still Nico Dawes. I'd be a bit surprised if this team gets back to the postseason, but let's just hope for the continuation of the upward trend. Savoie tying his career high in points last season. Let's see if he can beat it here in 2030-31. Okay, in year number 7, the Buffalo Sabres squeak back into the postseason as they take the last spot in the Eastern Conference. They were tied in points with the Blue Jackets, but they got the last spot. A record of 44, 35, and 3 was good enough to get to the postseason. And Matthew Savoie finally had his coming out party as he had a career high in goals, assists, and points to put up 73 points in 82 games. Quinton Byfield ended up hopping on the ship here in Buffalo as he was probably a deadline acquisition. Yes, he was playing 26 points in 21 games. Great to see that Sabres management were finally ready to pull the trigger on a move. Savoie was also a -4 on the year, even in a year where mostly everyone's a plus, he's still a negative. Throw in 18 power play points and he averaged just over 18 minutes a night for another career high right there. In the postseason, the Sabres took down the Hurricanes in round number 1, but lost in 6 to the reigning Stanley Cup champion New York Rangers, who would go on to lose to the Boston Bruins, who would go on to win the Stanley Cup for the 2031 title. Similar to the last time that he was in the postseason, Matthew Savoie wasn't a huge point producer as he scored 3 goals and 3 assists for 6 points in 13 games. Nonetheless, it was finally another taste of the postseason and a great regular season from Savoie. All of that sees his overall grow to 88, the highest it's ever been. Puck skills between 94 and 95. 4-star shooting, 4-star skating, 5-star senses, even the physical at 2.5, hey, why not? So now at an 88 overall and coming off of a 70-plus point season, Savoie will be headed into the final year of that 5 by 5.615 extension that he signed. So many questions left to be answered. We'll see what happens in 2032 offseason, but we're not there quite yet. Let's get through the 2031 offseason and see if Buffalo is able to build off the little bit of success that they have finally found. Alright, year number 8 in Buffalo, and Matthew Savoie for the first time in his career finds himself on the first line, but he is playing wing with Quinton Byfield as the first line center and Sidor as first line wing. Very curious to see how this season goes for Matthew Savoie as a winger and getting a lot more minutes with some better line mates as well, and Buffalo as a whole with a more solid forward core than we've seen as of late. Matthew Savoie, 88 overall, listed as a first line forward. He has 94 durability, that's why he's always playing in 82 games more often than not. Acceleration is 90, speed is 90, he has the hands, he has the passing, the offensive and defensive awareness. Let's hope for more of the same from Savoie and also a playoff berth and maybe more from the Buffalo Sabres, as Savoie will be entering unrestricted free agency at the end of this season, and we'll see if he and the Sabres will still be a match moving forward. In year number 8, the Buffalo Sabres returned to the postseason for the second consecutive year for the first time in Savoie's career and the first time in over 2 decades, as they finished 12th in the NHL with a record of 43, 32, and 7. Savoie had a bit of a down year, and for the first time since his rookie season didn't play in all 82 games, as he had a career low in games played actually at 72. He scored 15 goals and 37 assists along the way for 52 points in total. The team itself didn't score that much, but the first line wasn't what we thought it would be. Once again, he is a negative player when the players around him are not. He's -7, throw in 13 power play points, and average just 3 seconds shy of 18 minutes per night, and you have Savoie's 8th year in the NHL. In the postseason, the Sabres once again went on a run as they beat the Red Wings in 6, the Bruins in 6, but then lost in the Eastern Conference Finals, the eventual Stanley Cup winning Ottawa Senators in 5. Savoie turned it on in the postseason as he got career highs in goals, assists, and postseason points. 4 goals, 10 assists, and 14 points in 17 games played. Only a -2 this time around, but still unfortunately not quite enough to make it through the Ottawa Senators. With this 8th season in Buffalo now completed, he is back down to an 87 overall. Back to those original base attributes that we've seen him have as an 87 overall. 89 acceleration and speed and defensive awareness, all that good stuff. But the biggest thing to note is that his contract is now up in Buffalo after the 5-year extension that paid him over $28 million. He hasn't been producing a ton, but I'm sure you get a good contract in free agency. The question now will be, does Buffalo have the money to sign him back? Plus, does Savoie even want to come back? Things have been trending up with back-to-back playoff appearances for the Sabres, but only the 2032 offseason will be able to tell us what happens. In year number 9, Matthew Savoie goes to unrestricted free agency and signs a deal with the St. Louis Blues, becoming their first-line centerman and getting a lot of money along the way. He is being paid $9.67 million per year for the next 7 seasons, paying him a total just shy of $68 million. I'm sure Buffalo gave him a good offer, but they didn't quite have that type of money, I don't think. Matthew Savoie, an 87 overall and ready to be the #1 centerman in St. Louis. This guy, Hanula, a power forward with 5-star shooting on his left. This guy, Sierra, whatever, a sniper with 5-star shooting on his right. Match made in heaven, it sounds like. He's also a first overall pick in 2028. Robert Thomas is still on the team. Rupe Hintz, this guy's standard. Fortier, Studnicka, Pestinen on the 3rd. Grossman, Gustafsson, and Corbet on the 4th. Defense is Shaw and Schultz, couple of generated guys right there. Pat Shaw, a defensive defenseman. Dunn and Zykov, Boldzuk and Mietnin. Goaltending, it is Toby Walter and Danil Tarasov. Scratches are a couple of generated guys, I believe. So nothing too wild, I don't think, here in St. Louis, but I love that first line. Savoie's an 87 overall, that 94 passing, 94 offensive awareness. That first line could be destructive in the NHL, and Savoie will be excited to prove his worth on that big, shiny new contract. He leaves Buffalo having played 642 games with the Sabres after being drafted by them 9th overall in 2022. 111 goals, 295 assists, 406 points, and also a -107, something that he'll definitely want to turn around now that he is on the Blues. In year number 9, Matthew Savoie's first with St. Louis, the Blues finished 9th in the NHL with a great record of 45, 30, and 7 to give Savoie his 3rd consecutive playoff berth. Savoie had an amazing season as he had a career high in assists and points, almost as many assists as he had ever had points, 22 goals and 69 assists for a 91-point season. He's never been closer than 9 points away from point per game. This season, he goes 9 points over point per game. Played in all 82 and was a plus player with a +18 rating. Definitely helped with those 2 5-star shooters on his left and right there. 22 power play points from Savoie as he averaged over 20 minutes of ice time a night. 20 minutes and 17 seconds in his first year with the Blues. Very unfortunate in the postseason, though, as the Blues drop in 7 to the Minnesota Wild, who go on to win the Stanley Cup in 7 against the Boston Bruins. There's definitely some consolation in bringing the eventual Cup champions to a 7th game. It's still very heartbreaking for St. Louis as they had a great season. Savoie was still over point per game in the postseason as he scored 1 goal and 8 assists for 9 points through those 7 games. After that career career year, Savoie grows back to an 89 overall with all of his puck skills between 95 and 96. My goodness. 97 offensive awareness. Crazy attributes that hopefully will carry over into year number 10. After a great season like that with St. Louis, hopefully there is much more to come, and this is just the beginning of something beautiful. Year number 10 and Matthew Savoie is once again centering the top line in St. Louis. Hanula on his left, Sierra on his right. Looking forward to another great offensive season from him. The Blues also picked up Stéphane Fournier as a new second-line centerman, 89 overall playmaker. So very nice to see that. Brad Lambert is out here. Defensively, still pretty much the same, not super impressive, but the first pair is good. And it's Vitaly Karpovtsev, a fourth-round pick in 2026 who's starting between the pipes for the Blues. Matthew Savoie is coming off of a 91-point season and saw him get 69 assists with Hanula and Sierra playing on his wings. So hopefully more the same here in 2033-34. The puck skills are still out of this world. The offensive awareness at 97, 89 acceleration and speed. Defense is at 5 stars now as well. So puck skills, senses, and defense all at 5 stars. Coming off of a great season, but a difficult postseason exit. Let's say the Blues can rally together and go on a run in 2033-34. In year number 10, Matthew Savoie and the Blues missed out on the postseason as St. Louis finished 20th in the NHL with a record of 38, 33, and 11. An odd scoring breakdown as the Blues were scoring 3.35 goals per game, among the top in the NHL, but they were also allowing 3.33 goals against per game, also among the top in the NHL. Matthew Savoie had another solid season, not quite point per game, but will take 22 goals and 58 assists for 80 points in 82 games. He was also a +5 with only 5 power play points, not a big year on the power play it looks like for anybody. He was averaging just 9 seconds shy of 20 minutes of ice time per night. No one really had a ton of ice time there either, so a weird year here in St. Louis as Savoie will regress to 88 overall. Was the goaltending not good? I don't know what it was. Yeah, the starting goaltender had a sub-900 save percentage. The backup was better, who was a 77 overall, of course. Classic. Welcome to EA land. But all that being said, Matthew Savoie is coming to the end of his 10th year in the NHL at the age of 30 and at 88 overall. The puck skills are still between 94 and 95. They jump between 94 and 95 and 95 96. Thankfully, his offensive output is still there, so let's hope that the St. Louis Blues continue to surround him with the right line mates headed into 2034-35. Year number 11, Matthew Savoie still centering that top line here in St. Louis. Great to see as Stéphane Fournier, who's a centerman, is on his left, and Sierra still the 92 overall sniper on his right with that 5-star shooting. Hanula has been dropped to the second line to play with Lambert and Rob Thomas at the age of 35, the longest-serving Blues player. The bottom 6 leaves a little bit to be desired, but I love that top 6. Defensively, still looking mostly the same, and goaltending-wise, we have Guy Delaurier, who's now the starting goalie in St. Louis. So with Fournier on his left, a playmaker, and Sierra on his right, a sniper. We'll see how that affects Savoie this season, who maintained his 88 overall status over the offseason. I don't believe any of his attributes have changed. So let's see if he can continue to put up those 80-plus point seasons with the Blues, heading into his 3rd season in St. Louis and 11th overall. In year number 11, the St. Louis Blues finished 6th in the NHL, a great finish as they had 99 points and a record of 46, 29, and 7. Matthew Savoie went exactly point per game with 77 in 77, 14 goals and 63 assists, the second highest total of assists in a single season in his career. Shout out to Robert Thomas, who scored 59 points as a 35-year-old. But Savoie in his 77-point season was also a +25 with 17 power play points as he averaged just over 19.5 minutes of ice time per night. The Blues once again dropped in 7 to the Minnesota Wild, who once again went all the way to the Stanley Cup final, but this time dropped in 6 themselves to the Washington Capitals. It's been a difficult time for the Blues in the Central Division, as the Wild have really had their number. In those 7 games, Savoie was actually tied for the team lead in goals with 3 goals, 2 assists, and 5 points in those 7 games. Now at the age of 31, he is back to an 88 overall. Nothing has really changed in that regard. It was nice to get back to the postseason, but I'm not sure how long this window is going to be open here in St. Louis. I think all of them are signed to at least 3-year deals, so at least the window's not closing just yet. But I'm hoping for some continued success from the Blues. Let's hope that the Blues can become perennial contenders, and that will continue into 2035-36. Year number 12 for Matthew Savoie, and he is now centering the second line in St. Louis with this guy, Kurinin on his left, a two-way forward with 78 overall, yikes, and Brad Lambert on his right, another playmaker, so not the ideal line mates. That first line is great, but Savoie is no longer on it, so I'll be curious to see if his point production takes a dip or not. Still an 88 overall, nothing to say about the attributes. He still has all the potential in the world to get point per game seasons, but as I mentioned, it'll really come down to the line mates, so let's see what happens in this fourth season in St. Louis. Year number 12 was a great season for St. Louis as they finished atop the Western Conference and just a couple points away from finishing atop the NHL, 107 points and third best in the league with a record of 50, 25, and 7. The Blues saw some good scoring this season as they had 3 players above a point per game. Matthew Savoie, not quite a point per game, but you can take 79 and 82. I think that's quite all right. 18 goals and 61 assists, a plus 20 and even 20 power play points, a great season from him in that regard, but only averaging about 16 and a half minutes of ice time per night. Give him a little bit more, I bet he could have had an even better season. But in the postseason, in a tale as old as time, the Minnesota Wild once again eliminated St. Louis in round number 1, this time doing so in only 6 games, but they would go on to lose in 7 to Dallas, who would go on to win the 2036 Cup. In the postseason, Matthew Savoie scored 2 goals and 3 assists for 5 points in 6 games, and now at the age of 32 is still at an 88 overall. It seems as though his attributes have pretty much plateaued at this point, but we're still keeping track of it as we go. He has 3 more years on the 7-year contract that he signed here in St. Louis. Great offensive outputs every year, but not much playoff success aside from 3 first-round exits in 4 years. It's great to be in the postseason, but as I said, with this group, you'd want to be doing a lot more. So we'll see what's in store for St. Louis headed into 2036-37. Year number 13, and Matthew Savoie is centering the second line in St. Louis with Hanula now on his left, the 5-star shooting power forward, and Kurinin, who's now up to an 82 overall, the reigning Calder Trophy winner, on his right. A bit better when it comes to line mates, so hopefully that'll continue to aid him in his quest to once again go point per game. The first line in St. Louis is great, so hopefully that top 6 can work together. Nico Hischier is out here as well, that's fun. So Matthew Savoie at the age of 32, still an 88 overall. I don't believe any of his attributes have changed since the offseason. Let's see what 2036-37 has in store. In year number 13, Matthew Savoie is part of his winningest team yet as the Blues finish second in the NHL with 53 wins. Unfortunately, the Vegas Golden Knights had 1 more point to win the President's Trophy, but nonetheless, the Blues went 53, 25, and 4 in year number 13. Matthew Savoie had the second best statistical season of his career with 18 goals and a career high of 71 assists to score 89 points in 82 games. The Blues once again had 3 players above point per game status. Sierra's contract is also expiring, so hopefully they keep him because he has been a monster for the Blues ever since Savoie's been here especially. Savoie was a plus 25 on the season, had 24 power play points, all while averaging about 18 and a half minutes of ice time per night. But to no one's surprise in the postseason, the Blues fell in round number 1. This time around to the San Jose Sharks, who lost in 6, who would go on to lose to the Stars in 6, who lost to the Oilers in 7, who lost to the Hurricanes in 7. So congratulations to St. Louis on being the biggest losers of the 2037 postseason. Matthew Savoie disappeared in the postseason as he only registered 1 assist in 6 games and it was a -3. Despite the worst postseason totals of his career, he does grow back to an 89 overall after that very good regular season. Puck skills, senses, and defense all at 5 stars, with skating at 4, shooting at 3.5, and physical at 3. After 5 seasons in St. Louis, Savoie has 4 first-round exits to show for it. Much of St. Louis's success in the future will depend on whether or not Sierra re-signs. He's won a couple of Rocket Richards, I believe. He's been amazing for the Blues, but his contract is up, and hopefully St. Louis management can keep the band together headed into 2037-38. Headed into year number 14, the Blues did not re-sign Sierra, and that is going to sting big time. Savoie is centering the second line in St. Louis with Kurinin on his left and 37-year-old Vitaly Kravtsov on his right, 78 overall, a 3.5-star shooting now. They did reallocate some funds to go and sign Philippe Goulet, a 90 overall two-way D. Quite a massive 1-year contract, so at least there's that. David Yurchek also here in St. Louis. Goaltending, a couple of 77 and a 70 overall. Matthew Savoie is out here. The highest overall that he's been 89 before. Not his highest puck skills ever, but his highest overall at 89. 96 offensive awareness, 94 stick checking, 90 speed and acceleration. So let's hope for more of the same from Savoie as he is entering his final couple years with St. Louis with nothing but 4 first-round exits to show. In year number 14, it was cutthroat in the Western Conference as the Blues had 95 points and a record of 43, 30, and 9, finishing 14th place in the league but missed out on the postseason. 5 of the top 10 playoff spots went to Pacific Division teams, so even Vegas missed out with 97 points. The Coyotes snatched up the last spot in the West, and the Blues missed out by 1 point. Many other teams, including the Wild, the Avalanche, also missing out, while the Capitals with 86 points made the postseason in 21st place. In his 14th season in the NHL, Matthew Savoie had his worst offensive output since year number 8 back with Buffalo when he scored 52 points. It was the lowest output that he's ever had with St. Louis as well, as he played in all 82 games but only scored 17 goals and 40 assists for those 57 points. He was a -7 along the way, had 14 power play points, and was averaging 16:41 of ice time per night. Obviously, having a 75 overall starter and a 70 overall backup did not help, so hopefully that can be a big thing that is fixed in the offseason. After that lackluster season, he is now 34 years of age, still an 89 overall, which is really impressive to see with his elite potential. But as I've been saying before, St. Louis needs to really figure out what's happening. Losing Sierra was a huge blow, and they can't let this window close with just a bunch of first-round exits to show for it. Let's see what the 2038 offseason has in store, and whether or not St. Louis can get back to the postseason after this year's miss broke a 3-year streak. Headed into year number 15, Matthew Savoie's final of the 7-year deal that he signed with St. Louis in free agency. He has regressed to an 87 overall now at the age of 34, but he's still playing on the first line, he still has elite potential, and he is still listed as a first-line forward. He's playing with Stéphane Fournier and Brad Lambert. Also joining St. Louis is Connor Geekie, another class of 2022 draftee. The top 6 is okay, the bottom 6, meh. The defense in St. Louis took a big hit. They lost their big 90 overall guy who scored like 60 points last year, so that's going to be a difficult thing to swallow. Sean Buss, that's a great name for a goalie. St. Louis has been a very good team every year that Matthew Savoie has been here. He's made the postseason 4 times, but 4 first-round exits. Now at the age of 34, with 1 year left on his deal, it's going to have to be a good season in St. Louis to make him want to close out his career with the Blues. His defense drops to 4.5 stars. He still has the speed and the same shooting and physical for the most part as he's always had, but hopefully that little drop of defense can come back and he can regain his 88, 89 overall status with a good season on the first line with good scorers. But after a heartbreaking year number 14, let's see what St. Louis can do in 2038-39. In year number 15, the St. Louis Blues are once again victims of circumstance as they finish 18th in the NHL with a record of 42, 34, and 6, but were the 6th place team in the Central Division. So the Oilers made the playoffs with less points because there were less players from their division making it over in the Pacific. Seeing right here that only 3 teams made it in the Pacific, but 5 teams making out of the Central as it was a stacked division. Still a good year for the Blues as they went 42, 34, and 6, but just the first time that Savoie misses out on the postseason in consecutive years since seasons 5 and 6 of his career. Savoie's point production continued to dip in his 15th season as he played in 80 out of 82 games and scored 17 goals and 37 assists for 54 points. He was a -15 on the year with 9 power play points and was averaging close to 20 minutes of ice time per night, one of the higher totals of his career. But at the end of his 7-year contract that he signed with the Blues way back when in free agency, he ends with 4 first-round exits and not much else. Great statistical seasons, but he is back to an 87 overall. Still elite potential and listed as a first-line forward at the age of 35, so that's good news. He should be in line for a decent contract in free agency. The attributes are still great, same puck skills and offensive awareness and all that jazz as always. Defensive attributes are great. Any team would be happy to have him, but Savoie definitely wants to go on a postseason run, so we'll see where he settles for his 16th season. In year number 16, Matthew Savoie returned to unrestricted free agency and signed a one-year deal with the Columbus Blue Jackets, paying him $6.535 million to center their first line with this guy Bolton on the left. He's a playmaker, and Hanula, a player that he's seen for many years in St. Louis, on his right. Hanula is a five-star shooting power forward who spent lots of time with the Blues, so Savoie knows him well. The top six isn't great, but the top nine's a bit better. The forward core itself drops off, but at least that first line is strong enough, hopefully. Defensively, the Blue Jackets are very strong with a great top four defensive core. Goaltending, it drops off as it's a 76 and 73 overall 38-year-old Matthew Savoie. Some scratches, so not the greatest team here in Columbus, but it is a team that Savoie is going to get a lot of ice time with. The Blue Jackets didn't make the postseason last year, but they did make the last two postseasons before that, resulting in first-round exits. So the Blue Jackets are hoping that Matthew Savoie will be their missing piece here in Columbus. He's an 87 overall. His potential has now dropped to exact top six, but he's still a first-line forward, and hopefully a solid statistical season will keep him in that range. All the 93, 94 puck skills, 94 offensive awareness, all that great stuff headed into his 16th season, now playing for his third team. So here's an interesting one. In year number 16, the Blue Jackets finished 27th in the NHL with a record of 37, 39, and 6. But at the trade deadline, the Blue Jackets, being a losing sub-500 team, traded Matthew Savoie and his expiring contract to the Boston Bruins, who finished in 5th in the NHL and atop the Atlantic Division. They had 105 points and a record of 48, 25, and 9. Unfortunately, it's impossible in franchise mode to go back in the records and see what a player got traded for. Very unfortunate, but I did go through Columbus's roster, and it seems as though that they received a medium top 6 forward prospect from the Bruins, as well as a medium top 4 D prospect. So likely some picks and other things included, but Matthew Savoie came to the Bruins after not doing much with the Blue Jackets. He only had 38 points in 63 games, which would have been on pace for a 49, 50-point season. Not great. He then gets traded to the Bruins at the deadline, assumedly has a high position in their roster, scores 21 points in 22 games, a pace of 78 points, which would have been one of his best. He had 6 power play points as well. With the Blue Jackets, he was averaging 20.49 per night, a career high. With the Bruins, he was averaging 20.10 per night. So a career high with the Blue Jackets and a third highest in his career there with the Bruins. Lots of ice time at the age of 36 for Matthew Savoie. As I can see here with the line scouted, Savoie was playing first line, first unit power play, first unit 4-man power play. The Bruins were utilizing him everywhere. In the postseason, Savoie helped the Bruins get through round number 1 in 5 games, but they dropped in 6 in round number 2 to the eventual Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. They gave them a run for their money, a 6-game series, but the Lightning would go on to sweep the Flyers and sweep the Sharks for the 2040 Cup. So there is some consolation in that, as Savoie was able to return to the postseason. He did very well, over a point per game, 4 goals, 8 assists, and 12 points in 11 games. Shout out to William Eklund with 17. But Savoie, unfortunately, is still chasing that cup. It was great that the Blue Jackets traded him to a contender, but it unfortunately just didn't work out. He's still an 87 overall here at the end of 2039-40. I don't think any of his attributes have changed, like, at all. So the key will be, can he maintain those attributes headed into unrestricted free agency? Once again, at the age of 36, he's still an 87 overall, first-line forward, top 6 potential. He can do it, as we just saw with the Bruins, almost on a point-per-game pace, but his time is starting to run out. 2040, welcome to year 17 of Matthew Savoie's career, and the Boston Bruins wanted to see more after he scored 21 in 22 and 12 in 11 postseason games. The Bruins and Matthew Savoie signed a 2-year deal, paying him $8.075 million per season, giving him a total of $16.15 over the next 2 years. He has Ed Ritchie, an 84 overall playmaker, on his left, and Caden Barney, an 84 overall 5-star shooting power forward, on his right. So at least there's that. The bottom 6, okay. The defense is atrocious, as they range between 65 and 82 overall. And the goaltending is Ted Subban, son of Malcolm Subban, nephew of PK Subban, Subban and a 69 overall backup. They are coming off of an Atlantic Division championship and a second-round exit in the postseason, so hopefully Matthew Savoie can do more of what they got him for at last year's trade deadline, headed into 2040-41. In year number 17, Savoie's first full year with the Bruins, Boston finished 12th in the NHL with an impressive record of 43, 29, and 10. Savoie played in all 82 games, and even though he wasn't quite point per game, will take a 72-point season. 24 goals and 48 assists, tying his career high in goals for a season. And he also scored his most points since year number 13, so great to see that back in play. He was a +8 on the year and had 7 power play points, all while averaging not too much ice time, 16:49 per night. In the postseason, the Bruins fell in 6 games in round number 1 to the Montreal Canadiens, who went on to the Stanley Cup final and got swept out by the Canucks for the 2041 title. It's unfortunate, as this is becoming the story of Savoie's career, where he very often loses to the team that goes on to win the cup, or at the very least makes the Stanley Cup final. Savoie wasn't great in those 6 games, as he only registered 2 assists and was a -5. It's also the 5th first-round exit of his career. And at the end of 2041, he is an 86 overall. He didn't regress too much and still has top 6 potential and the role of first-line forward. Puck skill still looking good, senses, defense, all that, but his speed taking a little bit of a hit now with 86 acceleration and speed. I don't think anything else really went down too much. He signed on for 1 more year in Boston, and honestly could still do a few more seasons, but does he have it in him after another first-round exit? Year number 18, and what may be Matthew Savoie's last in the NHL. He is centering the top line here in Boston. He's going to love that. He has his good buddy Ed Ritchie on his left, and this guy Luke Curry, another playmaker, but with 5-star shooting, 95 accuracies on his right. So hopefully that'll be another great season from Savoie, coming off a 72-point season. The lineup here in Boston has taken a bit of a hit, maybe forward-wise. Defensively, it has improved. Hard not to after last season. And goaltending is still Ted Subban between the pipes. So Matthew Savoie, now at the age of 37, is an 85 overall, listed as a second-line forward, but he still has top 6 potential. Still the 5-star puck skills and senses. Defense at 4.5. Skating continues to drop at 3 stars now with 85 acceleration and speed. So let's hope that if this is the end for Matthew Savoie, he can go out with a strong season with the Bruins, as he is still chasing that elusive cup. In year number 18, the Boston Bruins returned to the postseason with a 16th place finish in the NHL, 89 points with a record of 41, 34, and 7. Matthew Savoie put up respectable numbers as he once again played all 82 games. With that 94 durability, it definitely happens. 18 goals and 51 assists for a 69-point season. He was still a -20 along the way. Yeah, he did log 11 power play points, all while playing over 20 minutes of ice time per night, one of the higher ice time averages of his career at the age of 38, so he put in the work. But unfortunately, in the postseason, the Boston Bruins fell in round number 2. They had a good start as they took down Detroit in 6, and it was a thriller against the Lightning, but they ultimately fell in 7. The Lightning would go on to get swept by the Senators, who they themselves lost in 5 to the Winnipeg Jets, who won the 2042 Cup. That may have been Matthew Savoie's last chance at a cup, and he was fighting for it. In 13 games played, he scored 4 goals and 11 assists for 15 points. He's been good in the postseason in his career, especially with Boston. Maybe not so much last year, but definitely in his first season. He was a +2 as well and was trying his hardest, but after 2042, his 18th season in the league, he does go down to an 84 overall, still with the top 6 potential though, so that means he shouldn't drop too much over the offseason if he decides to come back. Still the 5-star puck skills and senses, but defense down to 4 stars. Savoie's 2-year deal with the Bruins comes to an end, and maybe the body's still in it, but I don't know if the heart is after another tough exit in the postseason. So we'll see if Savoie decides to retire in the 2042 offseason, or if he will hit unrestricted free agency. Year number 19, and Matthew Savoie is back in Boston. After being in 3 postseasons with the Bruins, he wants to try and run it back at least one last time. And you know what? He has the overall and the attributes to do so, so good on him not retiring and signing another contract, get another few $1 million. 2 years at $7.56 per year, paying him a total of $15.12 million if he goes through with both years of the contract. He is now an 84 overall with exact top 9 potential and is listed as a second line forward. So unless it's a crazy season, he'll likely regress down to the low 80s. Still 5-star puck skills and senses. His defense is slowly regressing. His physical going down. His shooting accuracies, I think one of them was at least 83. Now it's 82 and 84. So he's still got the hands of silk and seemingly the bones of steel with 92 durability, and that will carry him through. He's playing with Ty Flynn, an 86 overall two-way forward on his left, and Yves Hamel, a 3.5-star shooting playmaker who is 84 overall on his right. The defense has a huge overhaul. This guy Koskinen, a two-way D, and Nikolishin, a defensive defenseman, so that's huge for the Bruins. Subban is still here at an 87 overall now. Okay, so the scoring may not be there as much, but the defense is around. Matthew Savoie, still a top-line centerman in the NHL. So let's see how 2042-43 pans out for him and his team. You know what? I'm surprised. The Boston Bruins, hats off to them, in year number 19, finished second in the NHL with a record of 50, 23, and 9. They didn't score the most goals. They were a sub 3. All the other teams had like 3.25, 3.5, 2.96 per game, but shut down defense at 2.54 against per game. So a massive congrats to the Bruins in that regard. And hey, shout out to Matthew Savoie, who led the team in scoring as he had 77 points in 82 games, 15 goals, and 62 assists. He was a plus 17, had 12 power play points, and played 20-42 per night. I think that's the second highest average of his career. Another great regular season with the Bruins and a 4th consecutive playoff berth with Boston as well, which is the first time in his career that he has achieved that. And in the postseason, the Boston Bruins won the 2043 Stanley Cup. I was absolutely buzzing as this postseason was going on. The Bruins took down the Leafs in 6. By the way, Toronto led 2-1 in that series at one point. They took down the Lightning in 5, the Capitals in 6, and then the Calgary Flames in 6. It was the first time that Savoie had ever been to a Stanley Cup final, and he did not disappoint. 4 consecutive years of being in the postseason with the Bruins, and this time around they went all the way to capture the 2043 title. Matthew Savoie said, "I will not go gentle into that good night," as he scored 27 points in 23 games, 10 goals, not known for scoring, and 17 assists, 11 more points than the next closest scorer. 27 points in 23 games. He was a plus 6, had 4 power play goals. He was playing over 20 minutes a night. Oh my goodness, at 39 years of age, Matthew Savoie gets his first Stanley Cup. And oh yeah, the Conn Smythe Trophy to boot. At the age of 39, that makes Matthew Savoie the oldest Conn Smythe Trophy winner in NHL history, the previous record holder being Tim Thomas, who was 36 when he won it in 2011, coincidentally also with the Boston Bruins. What a postseason for Matthew Savoie, who sees his overall go back up to an 85 despite still having top 9 potential. He's once again listed as a first-line forward at the age of 39. His puck skills are between 96 and 97, the highest they've ever been. Defensive awareness back to 90, offensive awareness at 94. My goodness, 3-star skating, 3.5 shooting, and 2-star physical. He still has it in him for another season, and he is signed on for one more year, but I wouldn't blame him if he wants to call it a career and head off into the sunset after that historic season. But in year number 20, Matthew Savoie is back for more. You know what? I would have thought that he'd want to go off into the sunset, but coming off of a Stanley Cup, a Conn Smythe, and 77 regular season points, I understand why he would want to honor the final year of his 2-year contract. The final year paying him another $7.56 million. He's still an 85 overall, and he's playing first-line right wing this season with this guy Teemu Ranta as first-line center, a playmaker with 5-star shooting, the first overall pick in 2024, and Ed Ritchie, his good friend on the left side. The top 6, top 9 forward core overall in Boston looks pretty solid, better than the team that won the cup. The defense, they lost that 88 overall, but they still have the 90 overall. And in goaltending, they still have good old Ted Subban. So, you know what? Who knows what this season may have in store. Matthew Savoie's 20th in the NHL. He now has bottom 6 potential. So once again, unless he has great numbers, it'll likely really regress to those low 80s. The puck skills are between 96 and 97 to start the season, so that could be deadly on that top line. 5-star senses, 4-star defense, and all those other attributes that you can see right there. I believe all of them still the same as at the end of the 2043 postseason. Coming off of a cup, a Conn Smythe, and crazy numbers from the old man. Will he be able to keep it up as he turns 40 and is in search of one last ride? In a shocking turn of events in year number 20, the Boston Bruins finished 12th in the NHL but miss out on the postseason. Despite having a record of 43, 31, and 8, 5 of the 11 teams above them were from the Atlantic Division, the Panthers snatching up the last spot. The Bruins were a top 2 or 3 team in the Atlantic up until the last couple of weeks of the season. Not sure what happened. The Penguins get the last spot in the East with 90 points. Crazy Eastern Conference. A great year from Boston, but tough defensive as they allowed more than they scored. Matthew Savoie still put up another 70-plus point season as he once again played in all 82 games. The man is durable. 16 goals and 58 assists for a 74-point season. He was a -6 on the year and posted 16 power play points, all while averaging just over 19 minutes of ice time per night. He is now 40 years of age, but is still an 83 overall, listed as a second-line forward with bottom 6 potential. Coming off of a 74-point season, could it be that he signs another deal, or will he go off into the sunset finally in the 2044 offseason? His puck skills are still 5-star, but now between 90 and 91. His offensive awareness up at 95, but is skating down to 2.5 stars with 81 speed and acceleration. His physical at 1.5 stars. If this is indeed the end of the road for Matthew Savoie, what a career it has been, especially in the back half, going from being a deadline acquisition for the Bruins to a pillar in Boston. Will they re-sign him? Will he go to free agency? Let's see if that brutal postseason miss has left Savoie hungry or if he's ready to call it a career. Year number 21, and Matthew Savoie is not done yet. I'm just going to stop making predictions on when he'll retire. 2044-45, and he's still around. He signs a deal with the Edmonton Oilers, likely because they're not a great team and they promised him first-line center minutes. He signed a 2-year deal, paying him $6.635 million per year, paying him a total of $13.27 million if he goes through with both seasons. He's centering the top line here in Edmonton with Seth Voros, 87 overall two-way forward with 5-star shooting on his left, and Matthias Jorgensen, an 81 overall sniper with 5-star shooting on his right. So coming off of a 74-point season, who knows if Savoie can keep it up. He is now down to an 81 overall with AHL top 6 potential, but he still has 4.5-star puck skills, 94 offensive awareness, 90 defensive awareness, skating down to acceleration and speed both at 80, shooting at 3 stars, physical at 1.5 stars. Edmonton, not the greatest forward core. Defense, this guy Stu Ferrelli is an offensive defenseman, 92 overall. Goaltending was an 82. So who knows? Maybe Edmonton goes on a run, but Savoie was not done yet, and he's being paid to center a first line in the NHL. So let's see how it goes in his 21st NHL season. In year number 21, the Edmonton Oilers had a very successful and surprising season as they finished 7th in the NHL with a record of 48, 27, and 7. Matthew Savoie led the team in scoring as he had 76 points in 79 games, 17 goals, and 59 assists. He was a +6 along the way and registered 10 power play points while playing 20:44 per night. The second highest average ice time per game of his career at the age of 41. I don't know what they're feeding them these days in 2045. And the most average ice time in an entire season, as it was second only to the 60-some games that he played in Columbus. At the age of 41, that is a wild season. Unfortunately, in the postseason, the Oilers dropped in round number 1 in the Battle of Alberta to the Calgary Flames, who lost to the Sharks, who would go on to lose in 7 in the Stanley Cup Final to the New York Islanders, who won the 2045 Cup. In those 6 games, the Oilers struggled to score, and Savoie, who had almost a point per game in the season, only registered a goal and an assist for 2 points in 6 games and was a -7. At the end of 2045, with 21 seasons under his belt, he is now 41 years of age and down to an 80 overall, listed as a third-line scoring forward with that AHL top 6 potential. Still 4.5-star puck skills, 5-star senses, offensive awareness at 93, 4-star defense, 2.5 skating, 3 shooting, and 1-star physical durability. Really went down to 80 now. He has 1 more year on his contract, so I wouldn't put it by him coming back for 1 more. But Matthew Savoie has certainly earned his retirement at this point. If he's calling it a career after this 1 season in Edmonton, it was definitely worth coming back for 1 more. I know this is a long video, but I had to add this in. In the top right corner, I've never seen this before, the New York Islanders won Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final by a score of 10-0. Mind-boggling stuff. Year number 22, and Matthew Savoie does not quit. I've never had a career simulation where a player goes this far in terms of age. 41 going on 42. These high point production seasons are keeping him young. He's an 81 overall, still with AHL top 6 potential. His puck skills over the offseason, he went to some sort of training camp of how to stay young, found some sort of fountain of youth, because his puck skills are now all between 96 and 97 after having been at like 91, 92, 90 range. So 5-star puck skills, 5-star senses, up to 92 discipline, 92 offensive awareness, 3.5 stars defense, 3-star shooting, 2.5 stars skating, and 1-star physical, 83 durability, 63 endurance. He's centering the top line here in Edmonton with Voros on his left and Jorgensen on his right. So hopefully they can find that magic again in what will, I'm finally ready to say, likely be Savoie's final season in the league. It's the final year of the 2-year deal he signed in Edmonton. He wants to break some more scoring records for players of his age. All the power to him, and I hope that things end off well in 2045-46. In year number 22, the Oilers once again finished 7th in the NHL with another impressive season of 47, 26, and 9. Matthew Savoie only played in 61 games, the lowest game total of his career so far, but he did score 10 goals and 46 assists for 56 points, which put him on a pace of 75 points this season. As he's getting older, now at the age of 42, the durability, the endurance going down, it makes sense that he missed at least, 20 games, as he usually never misses any. He was still a -2 along the way and registered 12 power play points, all while averaging over 19.5 minutes of ice time per night. Crazy how he's still doing that in his older age. Unfortunately, in the postseason, the Oilers dropped in round number 1 in 5 games to the eventual Stanley Cup champion San Jose Sharks, who had a rematch against the Islanders in the Cup final and won the 2046 Cup. The trend of Matthew Savoie losing to a team that goes on to the Cup final or the team that wins the Cup continues, and this was unfortunately his 7th first-round exit in his 13th playoff berth. In the postseason, Savoie was still injured or possibly got re-injured as he only played in 3 games, but he did go point per game with 3 assists in those 3 games. And at the age of 42, after his 22nd NHL season, he is an 80 overall with AHL top 6 potential. 5-star puck skills and senses are still there. Half-star physical, 2.5 stars skating. Just wild attributes, and he's able to still keep putting up those numbers, especially coming off of the 56-point season, which if you count it as a season played as a 42-year-old, it is the highest scoring season in NHL history. 4 more points than Gordie Howe scored in 1970-71. It would also be the 2nd highest scoring season in NHL history by a player 42 years or older, as the only player who did more was Jaromir Jagr at the age of 43 when he scored 66 back in 2015-16. And thus concludes the career of Matthew Savoie, ladies and gentlemen, as in the 2046 off-season, he likely would have retired. No one knows for certain, but after 25 years, franchise mode is complete. Through it all, he ends with 1,762 games played, 352 goals, 1,064 assists, and 1,416 points. He was really slow to get his career going, but in the latter years, he was a monster. His best statistical seasons did come with the Blues, as he had 80, 90, even some 70-point seasons with St. Louis, but most of his success definitely came with the Bruins, usually in the 70s, but much playoff success with them as well. He never scored more than 24 goals in a season, but he was a playmaking extraordinaire, as he had as many as 71 assists and can usually be counted for in that 50 to 60 range. Points-wise, he never scored more than 91 points in a year, as we just saw, but his 82-game average, as we'll see on the next screen, was very consistent. He ended his career as a negative 66, as he had a lot of good plus seasons in the 20s, but he had a terrible negatives with the Sabres, most notably, actually. Negative 33 is worst. 332 penalty minutes. He never took too many. As little as 4 penalty minutes in a full 82-game season, as many as 26. He took almost 3,300 shots and a 10.7 shooting percentage. 37 of his 352 goals were game winners. 62 were on the power play. 299 of his points were on the power play. 1 shorthanded goal, 1 shorthanded point, that's it. He averaged only 18 minutes and 21 seconds of ice time per night. These are numbers you'd see from a guy doing 22, 23 plus. No, he never played more than 20 minutes and 49 seconds on average in a night, and as little as 16:01. Sometimes, many seasons in the 16s, so I found that really surprising. He played over 32,300 minutes in the NHL. He won over 17,000 of the 33,600 plus faceoffs that he took, giving him a career percentage of 50.75%. He was sometimes as bad as in the 40s. He was as good as 55, 54, 54. He was pretty solid on the draws, you got to give it to him. Didn't throw many hits, only 900 in his career, never more than 56. Some seasons where he threw as little as just 14 hits. Blocks, not much either, as only 221, never more than 16 in a season. Giveaways, 887, but takeaways, 1,474, a very good ratio. In the postseason, Savoie actually had quite a good amount of experience in the playoffs, as he played 135 postseason games, scoring 34 goals and 74 assists for 108 points along the way. Of course, winning the 2043 Conn Smythe Trophy as he won the Stanley Cup with 27 points in 23 games. He ended as a -5, 19 penalty minutes, shooting 11.7%, 22 power play points, averaging over 19 minutes per night. He was 52.52% on the draws, had 143 takeaways to 64 giveaways, blocked 27 shots, and had 64 hits. So as always, it's impossible to look at numbers in 2046 and compare them to 2022, but if you did want an idea of kind of where he ranks all time in the major stats, 1,762 games played would today put him 3rd all time behind Patrick Marleau and Gordie Howe, but in this universe, I looked at the record book, Crosby and Chara and some other guys have over 1,800 games played, so Savoie would actually be more like 6th, 7th, 8th around there in all-time game played. His 352 goals were nothing too crazy, as that would only rank him 158th all-time, currently behind Brad Marchand and ahead of Rick McLeish. His 1,064 assists, however, would put him 9th all-time, 1 ahead of Steve Yzerman and a handful behind Adam Oates. Obviously, guys like Crosby will be passing him, but I do think that he can be thought of as a top 10 passer of all time, and his 1,416 points would currently put him 19th all-time, but, Ovechkin, Crosby, they're going to pass him. So I'd say that he'd likely be a top 25 scorer of all time with those over 1,400 points, ahead of Doug Gilmour and behind Adam Oates. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the very long career of Matthew Savoie. No franchise records when it comes to goals and assists and points in a game or a season or anything like that, but I'm sure he set many franchise records that we don't know about, such as oldest player to do this and that, just like how he is the oldest player in NHL history to win the Conn Smythe Trophy. I'm so glad that he got his Stanley Cup. I'm sorry that things didn't work out in Buffalo for all you Sabres fans out there. 8 years with the Sabres, never scoring more than 73 points, but usually more in the 50 range. He really made his name for himself in St. Louis when it came to point totals, had way too many first-round exits, went to Columbus, got traded to Boston, was the best deadline pickup for the Bruins that they could have ever had, became a pillar for the Bruins, had 4 consecutive playoff berths with them, a Stanley Cup, a Conn Smythe, and then ended off with 2 years in Edmonton just because he could. Funnily enough, that in his 82-game average, average. He averaged about 66 points per 82 games that he played, but he only actually finished with one season in his career being between 60 and 69 points. In year number 18, scoring 69. He made a lot of money, broke some records, had an incredible career. Maybe he would have even kept playing if franchise mode didn't end after 25 years. But suffice to say, this was a really fun simulation. Some people complain sometimes, oh, well, realistically, he wouldn't have played 82 games this often, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, that's true, but the game did give him 94 durability. So it makes sense that why he played 82 games so often. Plus, when you play to the age of 42, it makes sense that you're going to have a lot of games played. What a career for Matthew Savoie. Leave a comment down below. What was your favorite part of his career and even the simulation as a whole? This was my longest simulation yet in terms of time to sim, as it went the full 25 years. So hey, if you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts, and do consider subscribing, as you'll be made aware of all of our NHL 22 and future NHL 23 career simulations, our NHL franchise mode series, breaking news and analysis in the real world of hockey, and much, much more. So if you enjoyed this, I'm sure you'd enjoy much of what else goes on the channel. If you're a Buffalo Sabres fan, we have our NHL 20 Buffalo Sabres franchise mode series that we did a couple of years ago if you want to check that out. But I will leave you there after a very long video. Matthew Savoie, 22 years in the NHL, retiring maybe at the age of 42 after some incredible seasons in his older age. He got his cup, he got his Conn Smythe, broke some records along the way, and I'm very excited to see what he does in the real world, hopefully a bit longer with the Buffalo Sabres than just 8 seasons. But time will tell. So once again, thank you so very much for taking the time to watch, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again in the next one.